Hello students and welcome to the video lecture series of software engineering, and today's topic is testing strategies, and I am your instructor Ms. Shruti Rawal. So let us start with the outline of today's lecture. So today's outline is the first thing that we will be studying in today's lecture is testing strategy spiral. Now what do you mean by testing strategy spiral? While we were discussing testing plan in the previous lecture, we had discussed that it is necessary to decide what sort of testing type are we going to use while doing the testing activity, right? So in testing strategy spiral, we will see what are the different types of testing that can be performed while your testing activity, right? The next thing that we are going to see in today's lecture is unit testing. Now what do you mean by unit testing and what happens in unit testing, that we are going to see in detail, but unit testing is one of the testing strategy that we are going to see in today's lecture. So let us quickly jump on our first topic, that is software testing spiral. Now the first, or you can say the core of testing activity is unit testing, and unit testing is the testing which is performed by developer himself, right? So for example, if you are writing any code and if you are running that code for checking any errors, that sort of testing is known as unit testing. So it is performed on the code, right? Now what do you mean by unit? Unit is the smallest part of a program or a software which you actually check for any inconsistency, errors, bugs, defects, right? Why it is necessary? Because we want a quality software. So it is necessary before giving to the tester that developer himself checks the inconsistency in the code so that minimum errors are given to the tester to test, right? So that is a unit testing in which developer himself checks the individual modules, or you can say units. So it is code related testing. The next testing strategy is integration testing. Now after unit testing is performed individually on the modules by developers, it is very necessary to integrate those modules and check, because we want that there should be design level, architecture level testing. Now what do you mean by integration testing? Integration testing, it means that in unit testing all the developers had individually tested the units. Now for example, if you have a project in which you have number of modules and different developers are working on each of them, every developer has checked their own module in unit testing, but it is a possibility that these modules are interdependent on each other, right? So data is flowing from one module to another module. Now we have already checked for the individual module working, but it is very necessary to combine the module, integrate the module and check for the consistency and check that is there any error in integration or any design. So that is actually a design level testing. The next testing strategy is validation testing. Now validation we have already studied while we had studied what is the difference between validation and verification. I hope you remember that validation is basically checking for the user's requirement. It means that whatever software you have developed is according to the user's need, right? So we are running the software. Yes, it is also a dynamic testing which is performed by the testers, and in that the code is tested for checking that whether the code is according to the user requirement or not. So basically it is requirement level testing. And the last testing strategy after all this core testing is completed is system testing. So once you have individually tested the units, also you have integrated the units and tested in integration testing, also you have checked the customer requirements and whether your software is according to the customer requirements in validation testing. The last testing is system testing, in which the overall system is tested. Now you may wonder, what do you mean by system testing, or what is actually happening in system testing? In system testing, the overall security is tested. You can say the system is tested for any failures, or you can say the overall performance of your system is tested, right? So this is all about the different types of testing strategy. In this particular lecture, we are going to study one of the basic strategy, that is unit testing. So now the first thing that comes to your mind is, what do you mean by unit? So unit is nothing but it is a part of software, you can say the smallest part of software which is testable. It means unit testing is a dynamic testing in which you actually run the code, you check for the errors and you validate that whatever code you have actually run, that is according to the expected output, right? Who performs unit testing? That we have already discussed, that developer is the person who performs unit testing on its own. Some of the time it is possible that developer gives the test to tester to perform unit testing, but in majority of the cases unit testing is performed by the developer. The next thing is, what can actually be considered as a unit? You can consider as a unit, for example, you can say a function is a unit, a method is a unit, a procedure is a unit. Also, you can say a whole module is a unit, an object is a unit, or you can also say a class is a unit. So there is no one fixed thing to call this particular thing as a unit, but it is upon you that whatever you are testing, that part is known as a unit, right? Now, the next thing is that actually what happens in the unit testing, right? So we know that developer is actually checking for the test cases, whether the test case is passing or it is failing. But what are the things that we actually test during unit testing? Let us see some of the things that developers generally check while unit testing. So the first thing that is checked in unit testing is input and output of information. So here you can see I have taken one example in which you have module C. So this module C is under test, and you can see in the figure that module C is basically dependent on two other modules. So module A is giving some sort of data to module C, some process is occurring, and module C is giving data as an output to module B. So there is some sort of interdependency between the modules, so input and output of information occurs. Now whenever you as a developer are checking module C, you know that these input and output of information should be consistent. So in unit testing you will check the information input and output. The next thing that is checked in unit testing is local data structure. Now what do you mean by local data structure, or what sort of things are to be taken into consideration while checking local data structure? So here you can see there are a number of things listed. Let us see each of them. The first is improper or inconsistent typing. We all make typing errors, right? So it is possible that while you are writing the syntax, there are some sort of errors that you have made while writing it. So you have to check that whether the code that you have written consists of any typing errors or not. The next is erroneous initialization. Now what do you mean by erroneous initialization? It is possible that while initializing any variable you have done mistake. So when you are doing mistake in initialization of a variable, the expected output is different than the actual output, right? So that is not accepted. So this sort of data is to be checked in local data structure. The next is misspelled or truncated variables. Now this is a very trivial or basic mistake that many programmers do. We have variable names which are meaningful, right? While writing those variable names, if the IDE is providing you the IntelliSense property, and if you are being given the suggestions, it is possible that similar variables names are being used, right? Now you may have misspelled or truncated some of the variables, and due to which the output differs. So you have to check while in local data structure testing that whether the variable names that you have used in your code are perfect or not. The next is inconsistent data type. Okay, so this we have already discussed, that if you have declared a variable of particular data type, let's say for example you have declared it of integer and you are trying to assign a value which is of different data type, then there is an inconsistent or you can say mismatch in data type which is not accepted, right? The next is underflow and overflow condition. Now this also you have studied in data structure, that many of the data structure when they are used, you have to check this underflow and overflow conditions, but if you are not using these properly, there is an error, right? So these are the all things that you check in data, or you can say the local data structure while unit testing. The next thing that is tested is independent path. So here you can see there is a piece of code and you have an if condition, and there is one statement which is executed in if condition, then you have an else condition, and in else you are executing another statement. What do you mean by checking independent path? Independent path testing, it means you have to check every condition. It means while you are entering the data for testing, while running this program, you have to enter whether this if condition is true or not. So true condition data also you have to enter, also the false condition, so that the path that will be followed will be else condition, right? So all the independent path you can see in the graph, there are different paths that you can follow in this program. All the independent path must be checked while unit testing, not a single path should remain, right? The next things that we can consider while unit testing is, the next is boundary condition. Now what do you mean by boundary condition? Here is a very basic example where people make mistakes in boundary condition. So here you can see I have a for loop for I is equal to 0, I less than 4, I plus plus. Now inside this for loop I may be printing something, right? So I want basically 4 values to be printed, 0, 1, 2, 3. So it will iterate 4 times, right? But what if the developer has initialized the value instead of 0 from 1? We know that this boundary condition differs. Here it is I less than 4, but if you are initializing it 1, you have to write less than equal to. So these are the boundary conditions that a programmer must understand, but while coding they may be missed, or they may foresee these conditions. So while unit testing you have to take into consideration all the boundary condition and check your program for boundary conditions. The next is error handling path. Now what do you mean by error handling path? It is obviously possible that your program or your software will throw number of errors, but you have to handle all those errors, and we have exception handling in many of the programming languages to handle the exceptions, right? You have to check whether your software is consistent in handling the error, whether all the exceptions that you have handled are correctly handled by the system or not. So that is the thing that you have to check while unit testing. The next is incorrect arithmetic operator precedence. So here you can see there is a number of precedence for arithmetic as well as logical operators. You have to take into consideration this precedence while conducting any formula, you can say formulating any logic, because if this precedence is not taken into consideration, your output may be erroneous, right? So these were all the things which you can test in unit testing, and it is not limited to these things, but these are the basic things that you have to check. The next thing is, we told that unit testing is basically testing a single unit. So you are basically testing a module in isolation, right? Now let us consider this is one module B. So this is completed. If you are a developer, you have already developed this module and this is the module under test. So you need to unit test this module. But what happens? There is module A, and this module A is a higher level module than your module B. So B is a lower level module and A is a higher level module, and you can see that A is basically calling your module B. Okay, so there will be some data which is exchanged between A and B, right? Now, but module A is being constructed by some other developer, and this is still under construction. It is not fully developed, right? The next scenario, that if your module B is in under construction and if it is calling some another module, so here you can see that this module C is basically your lower level module, where your module B is a higher level module, because B is calling module C. Now it is also possible that this module C is being created by some other developer and it is not yet constructed. So what you will do, will you not test your module B because it is dependent on A and C? Because without the input and output of data, you cannot fully check your module B. It is dependent on the other modules. Now there is a solution in which if your modules if your module under test is dependent on other modules and that modules are still under construction, you can have an alternative called driver and stub. So let us study what is this solution and what do you mean by driver and stub. So here again let us take that example. So our module B is still under construction and we had module A, that was a higher level module which was still under construction, it was not created. But what can we perform? Yes, we can create a driver. Now what do you mean by a driver? Driver is nothing but it is like a main program which accepts the test case data, right? Because we want to test module B, right? And it is dependent on module A, so we have to enter something Right, so module that is your A has been replaced by a driver, that is a dummy module, in which you are entering some of the dummy test case data, and that data is passed through your module B. So what is a driver? Again, it is nothing but it is a dummy module which has been created so that that data is passed to module B, and you can check this module B, right? This B may be returning something. The next thing that we had seen, or the next scenario was of module C, and that was a lower level module, but still it was under construction. So instead of that, you can create again a dummy module that is known as a stub, right? And this is basically again a dummy module which is a lower level dummy module, and it performs only some of the manipulation, or you can say only some logic which is required for the testing of module B, and not the whole logic which actual module C requires. So stub is also a dummy module, but when you have a lower level module which is being called by your module under test, then the module that is created is known as stub. Whereas when you create a dummy module that is on higher level and which calls your module under test, that higher level module is known as a driver. Right, now these dummy modules are replaced temporarily because we want to test this module B, correct? Now let us see one of the example for driver and stub. Again, this is a module A which I have to test, right? So what is this? This is a function. Now what does this function A do? It basically calculates the total marks obtained by a student in a particular academic year. So for example, in this year 2020, function A, what it is doing, it is calculating your total marks of all the subjects, right? But it is taking input data from function B. So obviously it is dependent on function B, right? And what does function B do? Function B is calculating individual subjects mark. Okay, so individual subject marks are being calculated in function B, and that data is being passed to function A. Now what is the actual scenario? The actual scenario is this, in which we have already finished working on function A, and we want to check this because we want to do unit testing of function A, but still function B is being constructed, it is under construction. We have not completed coding of function B. What will we do? Yes, exactly. We will replace this function B via stub, in which we will create a dummy function which just gives dummy data to function A so that the testing procedure completes. So this was about stub. Now if you have a reverse procedure in which function B is completed and function A is under construction, you can get an idea that we have to create a driver instead of stub, right? So this was all about driver and stub, that are the dummy modules that we create while unit testing, and this was all about today's lecture. Thank you.